Maya Johnson drove slowly through the quiet streets. The old car made soft noises as it moved. It was late, almost midnight, and Maya was tired. She had worked undercover for 3 months now. Every day, she pretended to be someone else, a woman who sold drugs in small amounts. But Maya was really a DEA agent, one of the best. Tonight, she just wanted to go home. Her small apartment waited for her, a place where she could be herself again, even if just for a few hours. The operation was almost over. In 2 more weeks, the DEA would have enough proof to catch the big drug sellers in the city. Maya saw the flashing blue and red lights in her mirror. She sighed and pulled over to the side of the road. She checked her face in the mirror quickly. No makeup, simple clothes, nothing that would make the police think she was anything but a regular person driving home late. 2 police officers walked up to her car. One stood back while the other came to her window. His name tag said Richards. He was tall with cold eyes that looked at Maya with instant dislike. "License and registration," he said, not even saying hello first. Maya nodded and reached slowly for her papers. She knew how to act in these situations. As a black woman, she had faced moments like this many times, even before she joined the DEA. "Stay calm," she told herself. "Show respect, even when it's not given to you." "What seems to be the problem, officer?" she asked in a polite voice. "You were driving 5 miles over the speed limit," Officer Richards said. Maya knew this wasn't true. She had been careful to drive under the limit. The second officer moved closer now. His name tag read Bennett. He was shorter but had the same cold look in his eyes. "Where are you coming from this late?" Officer Bennett asked. His voice sounded like he already thought she was guilty of something. "Just finished work," Maya said. She kept her answers short. Her DEA badge was hidden in a secret pocket of her jacket. She couldn't show it now. If word got out that she was DEA, 3 months of work would be wasted, and dangerous people might escape. Officer Richards looked at her papers with narrow eyes. "Step out of the car, please." Maya knew she could refuse. She knew her rights, but something told her to see where this would go. Maybe these officers were just doing their jobs, or maybe there was something else happening. Either way, as a DEA agent, she needed to understand what was going on in her city, even with the police. She stepped out of the car, standing tall even though both officers towered over her. "Do you have any drugs or weapons in the vehicle?" Officer Bennett asked. "No, sir," Maya answered truthfully. Her DEA weapon was at home, locked safely away. "We're going to search your car," Richard said. It wasn't a question. Maya watched as they began looking through her car without her permission. This wasn't right. They needed a reason to search, and they didn't have one. Officer Bennett bent down near the driver's seat. When he stood up, he was smiling and holding a small plastic bag with white powder inside. "Well, well," he said with a smirk. "Looks like we found something interesting." Maya's heart beat faster. That bag wasn't hers. She never carried drugs, not even as part of her cover. Someone had put that there, and she had a good idea who. "That's not mine," she said firmly. Officer Richards laughed. "That's what they all say." He pulled out handcuffs. "Maya Johnson, you're under arrest for possession of cocaine." As the cold metal closed around her wrists, Maya kept her face calm. This was bigger than she had expected. If these officers were planting drugs on innocent people, how many lives had they ruined? How many other black women like her had stood exactly where she stood now, telling the truth but not being believed? This wasn't just about her anymore. Something was very wrong here, and Maya was going to find out what it was, even if she had to go to jail to do it. The police car was cold. Maya sat in the back seat, hands still cuffed behind her. Officer Richards drove while Officer Bennett sat in the passenger seat. They talked and laughed like they had won something. "Another drug dealer off the streets," Bennett said, looking back at Maya with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. Maya stayed quiet. She watched the city lights pass by the window. She needed to think. She could tell them who she really was, a DEA agent working undercover. Her badge was still hidden in her jacket. But if she did that, her whole operation would fall apart. Dangerous drug dealers would go free. Months of work would be wasted. No, she decided. She would not reveal herself. Not yet. This might be a chance to learn more about these officers. Were they just two bad cops or part of something bigger? At the police station, they took her picture and her fingerprints. Maya knew her real identity was safe. Her fingerprints would show up in the system as her cover identity. Jessica Lewis, a woman with a small criminal record. The DEA had created this fake person with great care. One phone call. A tired-looking officer told her, pointing to a phone on the wall. Maya dialed a number she knew by heart. Her handler, Agent Thompson, answered on the second ring. "It's Jessica," Maya said, using her cover name. She spoke in a code they had practiced. "I'm staying with friends for a few days. Had some car trouble." On the other end, Agent Thompson understood immediately. Maya was arrested but keeping her cover. "Got it," he said. "Need anything?" "No," Maya said. "Just wanted you to know where I am. Don't worry about me." "We'll keep an eye on things," Agent Thompson promised before hanging up. Maya was led to a holding cell. It was a large room with benches along the walls. 5 other women were already there. They looked at Maya with tired eyes as she entered. One woman, older with gray hair starting to show, moved over to make space for Maya on the bench. "First time?" she asked in a kind voice. Maya nodded, playing her part. "Yes." "I'm Denise," the woman said. "What are you in for?" "They said they found drugs in my car," Maya answered. "But they weren't mine." Denise laughed, but it was a sad sound. "Let me guess. Richards and Bennett." Maya looked up, surprised. "How did you know?" The other women in the cell were listening now. A younger woman with red eyes from crying spoke up. "Those two are famous around here," she said. "They always find drugs in black people's cars." "Or in our pockets," another woman added. "Or our homes." Maya listened carefully as the women shared their stories. All of them had been arrested by officers Richards and Bennett. All of them said the drugs were planted. Some had lost jobs because of arrests. Others had lost their children to foster care. One woman took a plea deal even though she was innocent because she couldn't afford to fight the charges. "Nobody believes us," Denise said. "It's our word against theirs. And they're the police." Maya felt anger growing inside her. If these women were telling the truth, Richards and Bennett had hurt many people. They had used their power to destroy lives. "How long have they been doing this?" Maya asked. "At least 3 years," Denise answered. "My sister was one of their first victims." Maya memorized every name, every story. This was important evidence. When the right time came, she would use it. That night, Maya couldn't sleep. The bench was hard, and the cell was noisy. But that wasn't what kept her awake. It was the weight of what she had learned. Tomorrow, she would go to court. She would face a judge, and she had a decision to make. Would she reveal herself as a DEA agent, or would she stay undercover and gather more evidence against the corrupt officers? Either way, Maya knew one thing for sure. Richards and Bennett would not get away with this. Their days of hurting innocent people were coming to an end. Morning came slowly to the holding cell. Maya had made up her mind during the long night. She would not reveal her identity yet. She needed more evidence against Richards and Bennett. If she exposed herself now, they might find ways to hide what they had done. A guard brought the women in the cell some breakfast, just dry toast and weak coffee. Maya ate slowly, listening as the other women continued to share their stories. She learned that Richards and Bennett usually worked together. They targeted people in poorer areas of the city. They mainly stopped Black and Hispanic drivers. And somehow, they always found drugs. "Court starts at 9, the guard announced, coming back to the cell. "Those of you seeing the judge today, get ready." Maya stood up with 3 other women. Denise gave her a small hug. Good luck, Denise whispered. Don't let them push you into a plea deal. That's how they win. Maya nodded, thankful for the advice even though she knew more than Denise realized. The guards led the women to a small room where they would wait for court. An overworked public defender rushed in, carrying too many files. She barely looked at Maya as she opened her case file. Maya Johnson, she said, reading quickly. Possession of cocaine. First offense. The drugs weren't mine, Maya said firmly. They were planted. The lawyer sighed, like she had heard this many times before. Look, I want to believe you, but it's your word against 2 police officers. The judge always believes the police. So what are my options? Maya asked. Take the plea deal they're offering. 6 months probation, drug classes, and a fine. Or fight it and risk up to 2 years in jail if you lose. Maya pretended to think about it. I want to fight it. I'm innocent. The lawyer looked surprised but nodded. Okay, your choice. But don't say I didn't warn you. At 9 o'clock, Maya was led into the courtroom. It was bigger than she expected, with high ceilings and wooden benches. At the front was the judge's desk, raised above everyone else. The judge was an older white man with gray hair and glasses. Maya saw Richards and Bennett standing at the back of the courtroom. They looked confident, like they had done this many times before. When they saw Maya, Officer Bennett smirked at her. Several cases were called before Maya's. Each one was handled quickly. Most people took plea deals, even when they claimed to be innocent. The system was designed to push them that way. Finally, the judge called her name. Case number 47,823. State versus Maya Johnson. Possession of a controlled substance. Maya walked forward with her public defender. The prosecutor, a young woman in a neat suit, stood on the other side. How does the defendant plead? The judge asked. Not guilty, Your Honor, Maya answered clearly. The judge looked at her over his glasses. Bail is set at $5,000. Maya knew she couldn't pay that. But before the judge could move on, the courtroom doors opened. 3 people walked in, 2 men and a woman, all in professional suits. Maya recognized her DEA supervisor, Agent Carter, among them. Officer Richards and Bennett noticed the newcomers too. They stood straighter, suddenly looking less confident. Your Honor, Agent Carter said, walking forward. May I approach the bench? The judge looked annoyed at the interruption, but nodded. Agent Carter showed the judge something in his hand, his DEA badge. He spoke quietly so only the judge could hear, but Maya knew what he was saying. He was revealing her true identity. The judge's expression changed from annoyed to surprised. He looked at Maya with new eyes. Counsel, approach, the judge said to both lawyers. As they gathered around the judge's bench, Maya watched Richards and Bennett. They were whispering to each other now, looking nervous. They didn't know yet what was happening, but they sensed something was wrong. Maya kept her face calm, but inside she felt a rush of satisfaction. The moment was coming. Soon, these corrupt officers would learn exactly who they had tried to frame. And they would learn it in front of the entire court. The judge cleared his throat and spoke in a loud voice that filled the courtroom. We will take a brief recess. Officers Richards and Bennett, please remain in the courtroom. People looked around, confused. This was not normal. Usually, cases moved quickly, one after another. Maya stood quietly as everyone whispered. Her public defender looked at her with new eyes. Who are you? The lawyer whispered. Maya just smiled slightly. You'll see soon. In the back of the courtroom, officers Richards and Bennett shifted nervously. They had noticed the 3 newcomers showing badges to other police officers. Something big was happening. After 10 minutes, the judge returned. The courtroom fell silent. In the case of State versus Maya Johnson, the judge began. New information has come to light. I am dismissing all charges immediately. A small gasp went through the room. Cases like this were rarely dismissed so quickly. The judge continued. I am also ordering an immediate investigation into the conduct of Officers Richards and Bennett. Richards and Bennett looked at each other in alarm. They started moving toward the door, but two court officers blocked their way. "Your Honor," Agent Carter said, standing up. "I am Special Agent Carter with the Drug Enforcement Administration. Maya Johnson is one of our agents, working undercover on a major drug trafficking case." A loud murmur filled the courtroom. Everyone was staring at Maya now. The two corrupt officers turned pale. "Agent Johnson was falsely arrested," Agent Carter continued. "Evidence was planted in her vehicle." Maya finally reached into her jacket and pulled out her DEA badge. She held it up so everyone could see it. "Under her time in custody," Agent Carter said, "Agent Johnson gathered testimony from 7 other individuals who claimed these officers planted evidence on them as well." The judge's face turned hard with anger. Officers Richards and Bennett approached the bench immediately. The two men walked forward slowly. They looked smaller now, less sure of themselves. "Your badges and guns," the judge ordered. "Hand them over to the court officers." Richards tried to speak. "Your Honor, this is a mistake. We didn't know she was." "Silence," the judge said sharply. "Whether she was a DEA agent or an ordinary citizen makes no difference. The law applies equally to all. If what I'm hearing is true, you have violated your oaths and the law." The woman who had entered with Agent Carter stepped forward. "Your Honor, I'm Captain Lewis from Internal Affairs. We've been investigating complaints against these officers for months but couldn't gather enough evidence. Until now." Captain Lewis nodded to two officers waiting nearby. "Officers Richards and Bennett, you're being placed on immediate suspension pending a full investigation." The courtroom watched in shock as the two men were led away. Their faces showed a mix of anger and fear. Maya stood tall through all of this. She thought about the women she had met in the holding cell. How many others had these officers hurt? How many lives had they damaged? After the officers were gone, Agent Carter came to Maya. "You okay?" he asked quietly. "Yes," Maya answered. "But what about my undercover operation?" "Still secure," he said. "We've kept your real identity out of the records. The media won't get your name or photo. You can continue your work once this is sorted out." The public defender who had been representing Maya looked stunned. "So all that time in the holding cell?" "I was gathering evidence," Maya finished for her. "Those women's stories might help free others who were wrongfully convicted." The judge called for order in the courtroom. "Ms. Johnson, or should I say, Agent Johnson, you are free to go. On behalf of the court, I apologize for what you've experienced." Maya nodded respectfully to the judge. As she walked out of the courtroom, she felt many eyes on her. Some people looked surprised. Others looked hopeful. Outside, the bright sunlight felt good on her face. This wasn't how she had planned to spend her weekend, but maybe it had happened for a reason. Because of her, 2 corrupt officers would no longer hurt innocent people. Her DEA operation was still intact, and now she had another mission: to make sure justice was served not just for her, but for everyone Richards and Bennett had framed. The next morning, Maya met with Agent Carter and Captain Lewis in a small office at the DEA headquarters. Sunlight streamed through the windows as they discussed what would happen next. "The investigation into Richards and Bennett is moving quickly," Captain Lewis said. She opened a folder and spread out papers on the table. "We've already found 15 cases that look suspicious. All people of color, all with drugs found in similar ways." Maya nodded. "I met 7 women in the holding cell with similar stories. I wrote down their names." She handed over a piece of paper with careful notes she had made after leaving court. Agent Carter looked impressed. "Even in that situation, you were collecting evidence. This is good work, Maya." "What happens to those women now?" Maya asked. "And others who were wrongly convicted?" "We're reviewing all cases handled by Richards and Bennett over the past 3 years," Captain Lewis explained. "Any case with signs of evidence tampering will be reopened. Many convictions might be overturned." Maya felt a weight lift from her shoulders. Her time in jail had been worth it if it helped others find justice. "Now, about your undercover operation," Agent Carter said, changing the subject. "We've kept your cover intact. The drug ring doesn't know about your arrest or your real identity." "Good," Maya said. "I was worried about that. We're too close to catching them to stop now." They discussed how Maya would return to her undercover work. She would need a few days to rest first. Being arrested and spending time in jail, even for a short time, had been stressful. As they finished their meeting, a young officer knocked on the door. "Sorry to interrupt," he said, "but there's someone here asking for Agent Johnson." A woman named Denise Williams. Maya recognized the name immediately. Denise was the older woman from a holding cell who had been kind to her. "Send her in," Maya said, curious about why Denise would be looking for her. Denise entered the room, looking nervous until she saw Maya. Her face broke into a wide smile. "I knew there was something special about you," Denise said. "When I heard what happened in court, I had to come thank you." Maya stood up and welcomed Denise. "You don't need to thank me." "Yes, I do," Denise insisted. "Those officers arrested my sister 3 years ago. She lost her job, her apartment, even custody of her children for a while. All because they planted drugs on her." Captain Lewis stepped forward. "Ms. Williams, we're reviewing all cases connected to these officers. Your sister's case will be investigated." Tears filled Denise's eyes. "You don't know what this means. So many people in our community have been hurt by those two. Nobody believed us." "We believe you now," Maya said gently. After Denise left, promising to help find other victims, Maya felt a new sense of purpose. Her work as a DEA agent had always been important to her, but now she saw how law enforcement could hurt people when power was abused. "I want to help with the investigation," Maya told Captain Lewis, "after my undercover operation is complete." Captain Lewis smiled. "We could use someone with your skills." "And your perspective," Agent Carter agreed. "You've seen both sides now. That makes you even more valuable to us." As Maya left the building that afternoon, she noticed a small group of reporters waiting outside. Someone had leaked information about corrupt officers being arrested, though Maya's name and photo had been kept secret. She slipped past the reporters unnoticed, just another woman walking down the street. That was one of her strengths as an undercover agent, the ability to blend in, to observe without being seen. Tomorrow, she would return to her undercover role. She would finish what she started, helping to bring down a dangerous drug ring. And then she would start a new mission, working to fix the system that had allowed Richards and Bennett to hurt so many people for so long. Justice wasn't just about catching criminals, Maya realized. Sometimes it was about catching those who were supposed to uphold the law, but broke it instead. 2 weeks later, Maya sat in a van filled with surveillance equipment. She was back in her undercover role, but tonight was special. Tonight was the end of her long operation. "Target is approaching," a voice said through her earpiece. "Everyone stay ready." Maya checked her bulletproof vest one last time. Around her, 5 other DEA agents prepared for the raid. They had been tracking a major drug supplier for months. Maya had worked her way into the organization, gaining trust, gathering evidence. Now it was time to make arrests. "Remember," Agent Carter said from the front seat, "Maya goes in first. They know her. We follow her signal." Maya nodded. Her heart beat faster, but she stayed calm. This was her job. This was what she had trained for. She stepped out of the van and walked toward the warehouse. A man stood outside, watching for trouble. He recognized Maya and nodded. "They're waiting inside," he said. Maya walked past him into the dark building. Inside, 3 men stood around a table covered with packages. These were the leaders of the drug ring that had been selling dangerous drugs across the city. "You're late," the tallest man said. His name was Marcus, and he was the main target of their operation. "Traffic," Maya answered simply. She moved closer to the table, looking at the packages. This was all the evidence they needed. She pressed a button on her watch, sending the signal to the waiting agents. "So," she said to Marcus, "is this the full shipment?" Before he could answer, the doors burst open. DEA agents rushed in, guns drawn. "DEA, freeze! Hands where we can see them," Agent Carter shouted. The men looked shocked. Then they looked at Maya with anger and betrayal on their faces. "You're a cop," Marcus said in disbelief. Maya pulled out her badge. "DEA, you're under arrest." Everything happened quickly after that. The men were handcuffed and led outside to waiting vehicles. The drugs were collected as evidence. Maya gave a quick report to Agent Carter. "Good work," he told her. "This is one of the biggest busts we've had this year." Maya should have felt happy. This was a major success, but she couldn't help thinking about the other case, the corrupt officers who had arrested her. "Any news on Richards and Bennett?" she asked. Agent Carter nodded. "Their case is growing bigger every day. 27 people have come forward with similar stories. Internal Affairs is building a strong case against them." Maya felt satisfied hearing this. At least something good had come from her false arrest. Later that night, after finishing her reports, Maya finally went home to her real apartment. It felt strange to be herself again after months of pretending to be someone else. She took a long shower, washing away the stress of the operation. As she was making tea in her kitchen, her phone rang. It was Captain Lewis from Internal Affairs. "Agent Johnson," Captain Lewis said, "I have news. Richards and Bennett were formally charged today. Multiple counts of evidence tampering, false arrest, and civil rights violations." "That's good," Maya said. "There's more," Captain Lewis continued. "We found evidence they were working with someone else, someone higher up who protected them when complaints came in." Maya sat down, surprised. "Who?" "Lieutenant James Wilson. He's been with the department for 20 years. Very respected." Maya remembered seeing that name somewhere. Then she realized. Wilson had signed off on many of the arrests Richards and Bennett had made. "We need your help," Captain Lewis said. "The case against Richards and Bennett is strong. But Wilson is different. He's careful, well-connected. We need someone who can approach this from a different angle." Maya thought about it. Her undercover operation was complete. She had planned to take some time off, rest, maybe visit her family. But this was important too. This was about fixing a broken system that hurt innocent people. "When do you need me to start?" Maya asked. "Monday morning," Captain Lewis replied. "We're putting together a special task force. Your experience will be valuable." After the call ended, Maya looked out her window at the city lights. She had just finished one mission and was about to start another. This one might be even more difficult. Going after corrupt police officers meant facing resistance from people who were supposed to be on the same side. But someone had to do it, and Maya knew she was the right person for the job. The next morning, Maya arrived at work early. She hadn't slept well, thinking about the black car that had followed her. She checked her own car carefully before driving to headquarters, making sure nothing had been placed underneath it. Inside the task force room, Maya found Captain Lewis already there, looking worried. "Everything okay?" Maya asked. Captain Lewis shook her head. "We have a problem. Officer Parker, the young officer we wanted to go undercover, got a threatening note on his car last night. Someone knows what we're planning." Maya felt a chill. "I was followed yesterday." "A black car." Captain Lewis's face turned serious. "This confirms it. Wilson has people watching us. Maybe someone inside the department is giving him information." The rest of the team arrived, and they shared the troubling news. The mood in the room was tense. If Wilson knew about their investigation, they would have a hard time catching him. "We need a new plan," the prosecutor said. "One that Wilson won't expect." Maya thought for a moment. What about Richards and Bennett? They're in custody awaiting trial. Maybe one of them would talk to save themselves. "Worth a try," Captain Lewis agreed. "They're facing serious charges. If we offer a deal to the one who talks first, the other might be left taking all the blame." That afternoon, Maya and Captain Lewis visited the detention center where Richards was being held. He looked different now. No uniform, no badge, just a simple orange jumpsuit. His confident smile was gone. "What do you want?" he asked, sitting across from them in a small room. "We're investigating Lieutenant Wilson," Captain Lewis said directly. "We know he was protecting you and Bennett. We know about the missing drugs." Richards tried to look confused, but Maya could see fear in his eyes. "I don't know what you're talking about," he said. "Let me be clear," Captain Lewis continued. "You're facing multiple charges: evidence tampering, false arrest, civil rights violations. You could go to prison for a long time." Maya leaned forward. "But we're offering you a deal. Tell us about Wilson and the operation. Tell us everything. In exchange, we'll recommend reduced charges." "And if I don't?" Richards asked. "Then we talk to Bennett next," Maya said. "Same offer. First one who talks gets the deal." Richards looked down at his hands. For a long moment, he was silent. Maya could almost see him thinking, weighing his options. "Wilson will kill me if I talk," he finally said, his voice low. "We can protect you," Captain Lewis promised, "but only if you tell us everything." Richards took a deep breath. "It started 3 years ago. Wilson approached me and Bennett, said we could make extra money by helping him with a special project." As Richards talked, Maya recorded everything. He explained how it worked. They would arrest people and plant drugs on them. But first, they would take some of the real drugs from actual dealers they caught. Those drugs would go to Wilson, who sold them to other dealers through a network of contacts. The false arrests were just a cover, Richards explained. Made it look like we were doing our jobs, getting drugs off the streets. Nobody questioned where the drugs came from. "How many other officers are involved?" Captain Lewis asked. "At least 5 that I know of," Richards answered. "Maybe more." This was bigger than Maya had imagined. Not just 3 corrupt officers, but possibly 8 or more. A network inside the police department, using their badges to run a drug operation. When they left the detention center, Maya felt both hopeful and worried. They had good information now, a confession from Richards, but they also knew the problem was much larger than they thought. "We need to be careful," Captain Lewis said as they drove back to headquarters. "Very careful. Wilson has more people working for him than we realized." Maya nodded, looking out the window for any cars that might be following them. The black car from yesterday wasn't there, but she still felt watched. "What's our next step?" she asked. "We take this to the district attorney," Captain Lewis answered. "Then we plan raids on all the officers Richards named. We need to move fast, before Wilson figures out Richards talked." Maya checked her watch. It was almost 5 in the evening. "Let's go now," she suggested. "The DEA should still be in the office." As they drove toward the district attorney's office, neither of them noticed the police car that pulled out behind them, keeping a careful distance. Monday morning came quickly. Maya entered the police headquarters feeling strange. Usually, she worked from the DEA offices. The special task force investigating police corruption was based here, in the heart of the police department. Agent Johnson, Captain Lewis greeted her at the door. "Thank you for joining us. Not everyone would be willing to take on this kind of case." Maya followed Captain Lewis to a small room at the end of a quiet hallway. Inside, 4 other people waited around a table covered with files and laptops. "This is our team," Captain Lewis explained. 2 officers from Internal Affairs, a prosecutor from the district attorney's office, and a data analyst. Everyone nodded at Maya. She could feel them watching her with curiosity. Her story had spread through the department. The DEA agent who was framed by corrupt cops and then helped catch them. "Let's get started," Captain Lewis said, closing the door. "Lieutenant James Wilson, 23 years on the force, decorated officer. Perfect record." She put a photo on the table. It showed an older white man with gray hair and a serious face. He looked like someone important, someone respected. Wilson supervised Richards and Bennett for the past 5 years, Captain Lewis continued. We believe he helped cover up complaints against them. The question is why. The data analyst, a young woman with glasses, spoke up. I found something interesting in the arrest records. The drugs seized by Richards and Bennett don't always make it to the evidence room. At least, not all of them. Maya leaned forward. You think they're stealing drugs? Maybe, the analyst said, or selling them back to dealers. Either way, the amounts recorded at arrest are often larger than what's logged into evidence. The prosecutor nodded. And guess who signs off on those reports? Lieutenant Wilson. Now Maya understood. This wasn't just about 2 bad cops planting evidence. This was bigger. Officers stealing drugs, selling them, making money, and using false arrests to cover their tracks. How do we prove it? Maya asked. That's the hard part, Captain Lewis admitted. Wilson is smart, careful. He never does the dirty work himself, and he has friends in high places. The team spent hours going through files, looking for patterns, connections, anything that would help build a case against Wilson. By late afternoon, Maya's eyes hurt from reading so many reports. There has to be a way to catch him, she said, frustrated. One of the internal affairs officers looked up. There might be. Wilson meets with Richards and Bennett every Friday night at a bar called the Blue Line. Private conversations, away from the department. We could get a warrant for wiretaps, the prosecutor suggested. Not yet, Captain Lewis said. We need more evidence first, something solid to take to a judge. Maya had a different idea. What if someone could get close to Wilson, gain his trust, record his conversations? Everyone stared at her. You mean go undercover? Captain Lewis asked. It's too dangerous. Wilson knows who you are now. Maya shook her head. Not me, but there are other officers who could do it, someone Wilson doesn't know well. The room was quiet as everyone considered this idea. Finally, the prosecutor spoke. It could work, she said slowly, but we'd need the right person, someone Wilson would trust, but who would be willing to help us. I might know someone, one of the internal affairs officers said, a young officer who just transferred from another district. Wilson wouldn't recognize him. As they discussed the details of this plan, Maya felt a mix of emotions. This case was becoming more complicated than she had expected. What had started with 2 corrupt officers now involved a lieutenant and possibly others. How deep did the corruption go? That evening, as Maya left the building, she noticed a black car parked across the street. The driver watched her walk to her car. She pretended not to notice, but her instincts told her something was wrong. Someone was watching her. And in a case like this, that wasn't a good sign. Maya got into her car carefully, checking the seats and under the dashboard. Everything looked normal, but she couldn't shake the feeling of danger. As she drove home, she kept checking her mirror. The black car followed her for 3 blocks before turning away. The message was clear. Lieutenant Wilson knew she was investigating him, and he was letting her know that he was watching too. 1 week later, Maya stood in the back of a crowded press conference. The chief of police spoke to reporters about the biggest police corruption case the city had ever seen. After a thorough investigation, the chief announced, we have arrested Lieutenant James Wilson and 6 other officers for various crimes including drug trafficking, evidence tampering, and civil rights violations. Cameras flashed as reporters shouted questions. Maya stayed quiet, watching. This was the result of intense work by the task force. After getting Richard's confession, they had moved quickly. The district attorney had approved their plan immediately. That same night, they had obtained warrants. By morning, raids were conducted at 7 different locations. Wilson had been arrested at his home, still in his pajamas. The other corrupt officers were caught by surprise as well. Most importantly, they found evidence: drugs, money, and records of their illegal activities. Wilson had kept detailed notes of every transaction, thinking they were safely hidden in a secret safe in his garage. He never expected anyone would find it. The investigation began, the chief continued, when a DEA agent was falsely arrested by officers working under Lieutenant Wilson. This led to the discovery of a pattern of corrupt behavior. Maya thought about that night, just 3 weeks ago, when officers Richards and Bennett had pulled her over. They had no idea their simple traffic stop would lead to their entire network being exposed. After the press conference, Captain Lewis found Maya. "You did good work," Captain Lewis said. "Because of you, innocent people are being released from jail, and corrupt officers are facing justice." "It was a team effort," Maya answered modestly. "The DA wants to talk to you," Captain Lewis said. "They need your testimony for the trials." Maya nodded. "Of course, whatever they need." As they walked through the building, many officers nodded respectfully to Maya. Word had spread about her role in breaking the case. Some officers had been angry at first. Nobody liked to see police arrested. But as the details came out, most had come to understand how important it was to remove corruption from their ranks. In the DA's office, Maya found Denise waiting for her. The woman from the holding cell gave Maya a warm hug. "My sister is home," Denise said, tears in her eyes. "Her case was dismissed yesterday. She's with her children now." Maya smiled. This was why the hard work mattered. Real people were getting their lives back. The district attorney, a serious woman in a dark suit, shook Maya's hand. "We're building strong cases against all 7 officers. Wilson will face the most charges. We expect he'll serve at least 20 years. "What about Richards and Bennett?" Maya asked. "Richards is cooperating fully," the DA explained. "His testimony will help us convict the others. He'll still serve time, but less than if he hadn't helped. Bennett refused to cooperate. He'll face the maximum penalties." After the meeting, Maya walked outside into the bright sunshine. Her phone rang. It was Agent Carter from the DEA. "Just checking in," he said. "How are you holding up?" "I'm good," Maya answered. "Tired, but good." "The director wants to see you," Agent Carter told her. "There's talk about a promotion. Your work on this case impressed a lot of people." Maya wasn't sure how to feel about that. She hadn't done it for a promotion. She had done it because it was right. "Take some time off first," Agent Carter suggested. "You've earned it." That evening, Maya visited the community center where Denise worked. A group of women had gathered there, all victims of the corrupt officers. They were sharing their stories, supporting each other as they rebuilt their lives. Maya listened quietly. These women had been through so much, yet they were strong, determined to move forward. Some were angry, which was understandable. Others were simply relieved that the truth had finally come out. One young woman noticed Maya and came over to her. "Are you the DEA agent?" she asked. "The one they tried to frame?" Maya nodded. "Thank you," the woman said simply. "Without you, they would still be out there, still hurting people like us." Maya looked around the room at all the faces. "I was just doing my job." "No," the woman replied. "You did more than your job. You made a difference." As Maya drove home that night, she thought about everything that had happened since that traffic stop 3 weeks ago. Sometimes, the system worked the way it was supposed to. Sometimes, justice was served. Not always, not perfectly, but enough to give her hope. She would continue her work, knowing that every small step toward fairness mattered. And she would never forget the faces of the people whose lives had been changed, for better and for worse, by those who wore a badge.